Okay, we're going to get started here. Looks like it's about 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So let's get started. Welcome to week 3, live lecture 1. Hopefully you guys are getting in your work. I noticed there's a lot of you that haven't submitted your work for week 1 and 2. So I sent out a group email to all of you as well as an announcement that I would be willing to kind of just forfeit the late penalty if you guys were able to submit that by the middle of this week. So make sure that you're submitting those. Discussions, however, cannot be, that's kind of excluded from that, only because discussions need to be posted on the due date that it's required for. And the reason being is because when you're submitting to the discussion, no one's going to really look back at an older week to respond and really get anything out of it. And then also you're responding to your peers late and they might not even read it. So the whole point of the discussion is to do it during the week that it's due. So if I would focus your energy more on the assignments and the assessments that you did not turn in, if that's the case, and for some credit for sure. And then I'll waive the late fee just this time because of the circumstances of just having a lot of you not turning it in. I will not do that for the next 2 weeks, so make sure you take advantage of that and get your stuff in. I want you guys to really succeed. I want you guys to not fall behind. If there's an issue, let me know. Reach out to me. I am flexible with you guys. I've been there before. I've been in your shoes as far as being an online student, and so I'm here for you guys. I want you guys to succeed. All right, hold on 1 second. I am going to try to stop sharing here. Make sure I have this selected. Okay. All right. All right, so just kind of keep this in mind. Week 3 work, discussion 3, the initial post is due tomorrow before midnight, Mountain Standard Time, and your assignment and assessment 3 are due by Saturday before midnight. That's Mountain Time. Don't forget, kind of keep in mind, I don't want to say don't forget, but keep in mind assignment 3 is a project that you'll be working on, and assessment 3 is a quiz, and we'll go over that. We won't go over what's on the quiz, but we'll take a look at it real quick. All right, so this is the point in which I asked if you guys have any questions, and if there's anything. I'm sorry, I have the bells ringing in the background. I should probably turn off my messenger. I'm getting all kinds of messages here. I don't know how to turn this off, so I'm going to have to look into this real quick. Give me 1 second. Quit messages. I don't know how. Okay, so you might hear some dinging here. I apologize. So any questions, let me know. I know some of you guys are busy, but if you come across anything that really stops you in your tracks and it's kind of hindering you going forward, definitely reach out to me. If anything, I can help you figure out where to go to find extra resources. Or just even answer your question if I know the answer to it. All right, so let me know if you have any questions going forward. All right. All right, let's take a look at your discussion 3. You guys are doing pretty good on your discussions for those of you who are, kind of participating. Let's first look at, before we get into the discussions, I'm sorry, I'm like jumping ahead of myself. Let's look at your week 3 objectives. Got lots of objectives. This is what you guys should be walking away from in week 3. So you should be learning how to define non-destructive editing techniques. Utilize 4 techniques for making selections to modify parts of an image. Identify 3 common mistakes when resizing images in Photoshop. Identify and match 10 basic tools in the description of their use in Photoshop. Identify and match 5 Photoshop panels to their function. Identify appropriate panels that utilize professional techniques. identify the 3 types of shape tools, and identify the functions of 3 main Photoshop selection tools. And we've gone over this in the past, 2 weeks, some of the basic tools, selection tools, panels, and all of that. So hopefully you guys are in a good space for coming out of this week with all of those known objectives. All right, discussion 3, what we'll be kind of researching and discussing this week. All right, so we will be talking about, basically photo retouching and restoration. So go ahead and read through the career relevancy and the background information for the discussion about editing. I'm going to kind of skip down here to the prompt. So imagine you're working at a company with 2 designers that each have different styles of working, which, typically that is pretty much true life right there. Evaluate each of the designer's editing techniques and determine which of the 2 has a more effective workflow in terms of non-destructive editing. So here's one. Alan Johnson Smith believes in having an uncluttered document. For this reason, he frequently merges his layers together when he is satisfied that the design is on the right track. Alan doesn't like the way too many adjustment layers look when he is making a document, so he goes to layer and then adjustments to make changes. When Alan wants to remove the background from a subject, he often uses the eraser tool. Okay, so that's his style. Then Lakeisha Martinez has a document with over 20 layers, and she uses a lot of adjustment layers such as a color balance, excuse me, and hue and saturation when she wants to make enhancements to a photo. When she wants to remove the background from a subject, she uses a layer mask and never deletes or applies her layer mask. Even when doing spot healing or clone stamping, she always uses separate layers. Okay, and each of these have visual examples of what their file panel layers would look like. So which of the 2 designers has more effective non-destructive editing techniques and why? Explain what the advantage is of one designer's non-destructive techniques over the other, and what made you determine that advantage, and what suggestions might you make to the designer with the ineffective techniques to improve his or her process. So you might want to take a look at their layers, talk about what you see there. And also, obviously the description for each one of those has a lot of answers in there. Okay, so just make sure that you're following the reply requirements. There's examples down here if you want to see what A-level work of fellow students look like for this particular discussion. Okay, and this is something that I don't want to give you the answer to. I want you guys to, read through this and research and, from your known information that we've gone through so far. I want you guys to use that knowledge. Definitely can go and research it too, to bring in citations as examples to support your perspective. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward. And like I said, go out, read through this top part. I didn't get a chance to do that. Let me know if you have any questions. Start the discussion as soon as possible so you can gain the most out of the discussion as possible. So that's discussion 3. We're going to go right into the assignment 3. We have a demo that we're going to do for assignment 3. There's kind of a lot going on in the actual instructions, and I'll go ahead and break it down for you guys so you guys can take a look at what we're kind of covering here. So let's go to assignment 3. And again, I think this is a pretty interesting and fun assignment. I think you guys will have a lot of fun with this. I love this little guy here. So cute. Okay, so making selections to modify parts of an image are required to be able to create composite images. Select certain parts of an image to change or to enhance a myriad of other tasks. Perfecting the selection process to make it look like the image was never altered is the goal of the designer. Even if this actually didn't truly happen in a photo, this little chihuahua here in a suit, it's kind of neat when it looks lifelike all around. It doesn't look like it's 2 things pasted together. When you make it look as real as possible is whenever the magic happens. Okay, so there are a number of tools in Photoshop available to make selections that facilitate photo compositing. These tools include selection tools. So we already kind of checked those out in week 1. So making a selection is the first step in masking out the background. It's important to use the appropriate selection tools for the appropriate task. You have the marquee tools. So the marquee tools only make circles, ellipses, and rectangles. So if your object is a box or a soccer ball, this tool would be perfect. But if your object is more complex, these tools are not recommended. You have the lasso tool. A selection made with the standard lasso tool is going to be only be as precise as your finger. However, if you use the polygon lasso tool, you can make perfectly straight edges. The polygon lasso is ideal for straight-edged objects. Then you have the pen tool. The pen tool is one of the most precise drawing tools in Photoshop and also ideal for selecting an object that has smooth curves and straight lines. Excuse me. Quick mask. The quick mask allows you to paint a selection during the brush tool, so it is ideal for selecting organic subjects with irregular edges such as animals, flowers, or humans. Channel pull. This is a process for selecting objects that are significantly lighter or darker than the background. It's not a specific tool, rather, it's a process. First, the designer needs to go to the channel window, then duplicate the highest contrast channel, then turn that channel into a selection in order to make a mask. Color range selector. This is a tool that allows you to select the subject that's photographed against a solid color background. Then you have masking. After selection is made, clicking the mask tool will allow you to separate the subject from its background. You can also refine the mask after it is made by utilizing the mask properties window or painting directly inside the layer mask. Then you have your adjustment layers and blending modes. Adjustment layers, when clipped to the layer beneath, can help designers adjust the exposure and color of the subject so it better matches the background you are compositing to. So I'll show you how to do that. Blending modes often affect how the top layer interacts with the bottom layer and is handy when applying textures or lighting to a composition. An example of these techniques is when you have a single object in your composition that you want to recolor. For instance, if you want to change the color of the hat to green, you can use an adjustment layer in conjunction with a blending mode and a clipping mask. Okay, so this is the prompt for your assignment 3. For this assignment, you will be provided with a number of different animals, hats, backgrounds, and props to choose from. You're going to pick one animal, one hat, one background, and one prop, and composite these 4 elements together using the appropriate selections, masking, adjustment layers, and blending modes. So here are choose an animal from the images provided. So there's your animals. You have 5 to choose from. Choose a hat from the images provided. You have 4 of them to choose from. Choose a prop. You have 4 props. And then choose a background. You have 3 backgrounds. Okay, so make a document that is 7 inches wide and 5 inches tall at 72 dots per inch. Use File, Place Embedded to place your selected images into the document and place order resize them appropriately. Use the appropriate selection masking techniques to create an effective composite. Use the necessary adjustment layers and blending modes to make the subjects appear cohesive with the background. So it shouldn't look like it's slapped on there, and the color is all off and doesn't appear like it belongs in there, okay? Save your file as such and submit the PSD file, okay? So I'm just gonna do a demo. I'm gonna download Animal 4 here. Doesn't matter which one you choose. Save them to my desktop. Okay, and then I'm gonna put this hat on him. This little top hat's kind of cute. Whatever you think would work for whatever you're going for. And then I'm going to do maybe prop 2. So this little star here. Wand, I should say. And then I'm going to do background 3. We'll just do that one for now. Okay, so just save them to your desktop, you know, each one of those. 7 by 5 at 72 dots per inch. So let's go ahead and open up Photoshop. Sorry, I'm kind of battling a little cough here. So I apologize if I am coughing on here. File new in Photoshop, and then you could customize it. We'll just go inches, 7 by 5, and then we'll leave 72. If you don't have 72, put 72 in for the pixels per inch. Everything else looks good. Okay. I'll throw this in here real quick. All right, so you have this transparent image or transparent background here. All right, so we're gonna go File, Place, Embed. Oh, File, Place, Embedded. Not do what I just did. I accidentally clicked on that. Sorry. Cancel that out. File, Place, Embedded. I'm gonna put the background in first. Just because that's, you know, the background is, I think, the first thing that you should place in there. When you place it in there, if it's too small, like for instance, this is not as wide, you want to make sure that it fits the whole space. So you're going to hold the Shift key down and pull out the bounding box so that it fits. And just place that. Yeah, it looks like we have some. I think I kind of move it with the arrow tools, depending on where you want that. Okay, so let's go ahead and save it. So File, Save As. DES104 assignment. Great. Okay. Let's look at our layers here. Okay, so we have, I'm gonna actually unlock this. And we might have to rasterize this. We'll kind of see. Right now, this is a smart object. So you can always go back and change the original image if this is altered in any way. You might not be able to do certain things to it because it is a smart object, but we can always rasterize it to make it a non-smart object, and we can do different things to it too. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is go File, Open, and I'm going to go open up probably the animal next. So instead of placing it in there, I'm just going to open it up separately. So I'll have this one kind of ready for me. This is your file that you're going to place everything into. And then on this tab, because I did a file open, it's opening up the image separately here for me. So then I'm going to decide, okay, well, what tool would be best to cut this little guy out here effectively? I mean, I could do a pen tool. That might be a really good option for this because it's more organic, you know, looking. So I can take the pen tool and start tracing this guy out. If that's the case, well, for anything, you can use the magnetic selection tools or the marquee selection tools. Let's see, somebody logged in here. Hello, Angela, how are you? I got started about 15 minutes ago. Welcome, I'm glad you can make it. We're going over the assignment 3 demo, so whatever you missed, you could, you know, review and when you go back to the recording. Hopefully you can hear me. Can you hear me? That's okay. No problem. You only missed about, probably about 5 minutes of the demo, but about 15 minutes of the lecture, so not too bad. All right, so what we're gonna do, and I already kind of went over how to, you know, start the project. So again, you might wanna rewind that and listen to that when we're done here. Open up the next file separately, and you're gonna choose the selection tool that you want to kind of cut this guy out, or the animal of your choice. And I'm going to go with maybe the pen tool for this because there's so many different variables here, you know, some curvage going on that might help me kind of select a little bit little bit more in detail. So I'm going to take the pen tool. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start here and just kind of do how the pen tool, how you use the pen tool normally, you know, say in Illustrator if you're used to doing that. Go ahead and click and drag. As I click and drag, I can pull out those Bezier curves, is what they're called. And just a little tip, if you hold down the space bar as you're doing this, you can actually navigate around your artboard really easily. So that's the shortcut key is the space bar, and then you see the little hand pop up, and then you can hold the space bar down as you're moving your hand around for navigating. So you might not have your rulers set up. So you would go up to View and Rulers. If you don't see your rulers there, she just had a question about that. Yep. So I'm just kind of, and you could do this with any selection tool. I just chose the pen tool because I think we didn't quite go over that as, I mean, I didn't show this in the last demo, so I'm using the pen tool for that. And what's nice, you can always alter the vector points if you missed certain details here. If you mess up, hit delete for that vector that you just created and step back, select the vector previous to start back over. And zooming in is key. You know, zoom in on the work. The more you zoom in, the better off you'll be because you'll notice details that you might have missed. Go ahead and hold that space bar down, go around your subject here. And kind of, I think I'm gonna skip the tail though. Let me see what's the tail look like. Yeah. Maybe I'll bring the tail in. It's kind of very pixelated. If it looks weird, I'll just get rid of it. There's a lot of different things going on here. What's nice about the pen tool is you can do straight lines and curves. So I'm going to go from there to there. I'm going to hold the shift key down so I have a perfect straight line when I go to here. From the left, or from the right side, I should say. Oops. Get rid of that one. Hold the shift key down. That's a perfect straight line right there. Excuse me. All right, and then, oops. You can't get that tool to work when you use it. It's kind of like when you're in Illustrator, it's the same thing in Illustrator. So if you have any practice with that, it's basically, you just click and follow the click of where you want to go, you know, add the vectors to. It's all practice. The pen tool can be one of the most frustrating tools at the beginning of you learning it. I mean, I've been there before. I've hated it before. But once you get the hang of it and start to really use it a lot and practice with it, you'll start to really love it. And I'm going super fast right now. You guys probably won't go as fast as this because it's you have to get used to it. I'm actually on a trackpad right now, so it's not like the easiest way to do this, but excuse me. Okay. And then you want to go to the very start and close that up right there. Excuse me, I'm battling a sore throat today. Okay. So now that you did that, you want to go to your paths. So if you're using the pen tool, you want to go up to Window Paths. And where did my paths go? It's hidden behind. I'm actually on my smaller computer here, so all of my panels are being hidden. All right, now don't forget, this isn't your background layer. This is the layer that we're working in of the animal. Okay, so then we want to go to the Paths window and choose Selection. And what we're going to do is we're just going to drag him into our background. So I just drag and drop. Okay, where'd it go? There he goes. Okay. When I drag and drop him, now I have to go up to Edit, Transform, and Scale. And I would drag him down a little bit. We're going to make him a little smaller. So see this bounding box here? Let me zoom out. This is how big this image is. So you want to hold down the Shift key and pull this in. You want to make sure you hold the Shift key down first and release it last so that you're not distorting your image. Okay, now this is really hard to see. Let me zoom in here. So I'm just holding that Shift key down, getting him in the right space here. Yeah, so if you're having problems with the pen tool, there's tons of resources. I'll post some resources in the announcements for you guys to practice with. There's a really cool game that you can play online that you can practice doing, using the pen tool. So I'll do that. And then maybe you can practice a little bit with it. Angela, I know you said you had problems with that. So, okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm compositing. So I'm putting an image where it didn't belong. I'm pasting it in here. I'm not doing any color corrections as of yet. I'm just kind of, I created my background. Now I put my animal in here. I'm going to delete that and just get rid of that now. Go ahead and you can save it. Save your original one. Now I'm going to go and open up the prop or the hat. Let me open up the hat that I chose. So file open just like you did with the animal. And now because this is all in a white background, it might just be easy to do a quick a magic wand selection. And all you would have to do is choose the magic wand and select the white parts of this image. Now you could do two different things. You can hit delete. Oops, I had to unlock the background. Delete the background, just hit delete on your keyboard. And then drag and drop it in. Or if you don't want to do that, go back to history here. You could go, after selecting the white, you can go up to, let me see here, where is it? It's in a different spot as the other ones. Give me 1 second here. Okay, here it is, select inverse. So what that's gonna do is instead of selecting the background, it's gonna select the top hat. So then all you have to do is pull it out and drag it over and drop it. And of course, it's gonna be huge. So when you drop it, it's gonna look like that. Go to transform and scale just like you did with the animal. Hold the Shift key down. Go ahead and get this down, Shift key, all the way down, smaller to where, that's funny. Obviously it's doable for the, put it over his head. It's kind of funny, huh? All right, and then we just have one more prop. And I'm not doing any color corrections right now. I'm just placing this in. So I'm gonna go File, Open. Yeah, you do some really fun stuff with this. Photo compositing. I think this is the prop I chose. Yeah. Okay, same thing here. You could do the magic wand tool. I wouldn't trace this out because you have, the background. All you have to do is select the background. And as long as it's unlocked, you can delete the background, unselect it, and then just drag and drop this into your piece here. Oh, okay, so this is a good teaching lesson here. When I place this in here, it looks like it did select some of the white inside the ruler, or I'm sorry, inside the wand. So let's do that again. Let's take this, let me trash this. Let's go back to the original one. It looks like it selected some of the stuff. And what that does is when I select it with my magic wand tool, it over selected everything that's white, including what's in the wand. So I'm going to go back to history. Where's my history box here? And I'm going to go back up to undo. And I didn't quite see this before because the marching ants were so small, but now I can see where it's trying to select in here of the wand, which I don't want that to happen. So what do? Well, I can adjust the presets up here, the tolerance. I can scale that way down so that the tolerance is a little bit more, I would say, like not touchy, but like more sensitive to what I'm clicking on. So when I'm dialing that down from 70 to say like 10 or 20, it's really going to be very picky on the pixel color that it's choosing. If I want to see if there's any in here of the one that's being chosen, go down to your very bottom part of your toolbar where it says edit and mask mode. Click on that and see if it's all white or if there's like chunks that are missing in there. That looks pretty good. So all I had to do was dial down that tolerance level to 20. So now I can hit delete and then take this over into my original. And just drag and drop. And again, I'm going to go edit, transform, scale. Hold down the shift key. I'm just resizing it again. Hold down that shift key every time you click in this bounding box to scale down. You want to hold on to that shift key so it's not distorted. If you don't, this is what happens. See how it distorts it? So holding down that shift key will proportionately scale that down. Okay, and then place it. This is what we got here. Get rid of my history. So far, so good. Okay. So we got all of the pieces in here. We have the background, we have the animal, we have the hat, we have the prop, all placed in here, scaled down, and ready to be looking like it's part of the picture. Because right now it almost looks like I just copied and pasted and dragged in these components without it looking like it actually all belongs together. So that's kind of where the adjustment layers, color correction, all that comes into play. So what I would do is set the moon based on the background color. So the background color, if we hide all of this stuff, is very warm. You know, the other pictures might be a little cooler and darker, but this one is lighter in terms of the lights on the top, darker, warmer in tone. So you want to make sure that that's kind of coming across in your elements as well. So we need to do some adjustment layers. We need to do some color adjustments so that it looks like it's a part of the scene here. So let's select the animal first, and we'll go up to layer, new adjustment layer. And we're going to play around with the color balance at first. I like to do that first because you can always adjust the contrast of it, but why not adjust the color balance first so that you get the color just right, and then you can always add or subtract dark or lighter, hues. Okay, I'm going to click OK. And when I click OK, don't forget you have different tone values here. So you have your shadows, your highlights, and your midtones. So any one that you click here is going to be affected in those areas. Okay, so let's say I'm going to go in the highlights section. You can take your eyedropper tool again and highlight, say, the lightest section that you think is in your image here. Double click on it and see what color pops up. Okay, we're in the blues, right? We're in the blue whites. It's amazing, kind of, you may not have seen that before, but yeah, we're in the blue whites. So when I did the color balance adjustment layer, it creates the adjustment layer here. You can see it right here. The properties box comes up. And if we want to play around with this, oops. We just need to double click on the actual scale tool here. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the highlights. I want to pull back the blue, right? We don't want to go more blue because it's already really blue. We want to go more yellow. Maybe not a ton, but see how I'm going to the left and you can see the whole thing. And before we do this, because it's affecting the whole image, I'm going to go over to my layers and see where it says color balance and then layer 1. I'm going to go in between these two layers with my arrow tool, and I'm going to hold down, oops, I'm going to select my balance one. And I'm going to hold down Option, Alt Option on my keyboard, and you'll see like a little arrow with a block. That's just going to clip it to just this layer here, so it's not going to affect this one. So watch what happens now. See how it's just affecting the animal and not the background? So what I did, I selected the color balance, selected that, hold down Alt Option, and clicked right in between those two layers. So now it's only affecting those two that it's assigned to. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit more yellow, maybe a little bit more red. And you can always, what's neat about these adjustment layers, you can always hide it just to see the before and after. You know, flick back and forth. Say, is this doing any good? Does this look good? Is there anything else that I need to do? Maybe the shadows need a little bit too. Maybe the midtones or highlights. Okay, let's see what it looks like before, after. Before, after looks pretty good. And it can be more on the yellow side because that's kind of what this image looks like, you know, in terms of the background. I'm going to go do the same thing to the top out. Now you can duplicate what I just did by selecting that color layer that you have here and holding Alt Option and dragging up over top of this layer, the hat layer. Just don't forget to hold down the Option Alt key to click those two together, so you're just affecting the hat in this instance. So double click on the little balance thing, and this you can adjust. So if it's too yellow, you can dial back the yellow. Just remember that these are the same exact settings as you had them as the background. Okay. So before, after. I'm getting it more like warm. Same thing here. I'm going to go Alt Option drag up. So I do like a copy. Alt Option click. So I'm kind of combining just those two layers. And now I'm going to affect just the magic wand here so that it's more on the yellow side here. Okay. There's a before and after. All right, let's save this. All right, so we pretty much did some changes here. So this is the before. That's before. And that's after. You see kind of the big effect that it has on there. Okay, the next thing would be, okay, do we want to add some dramatic, you know, vignette or some details like drop shadows? You can always add a drop shadow to, say, the animal itself. Select them in the layer, go up to layer. You can go up to layer style and drop shadow. Just pull this aside and then you can kind of see the changes here being made. If you're, let me see if this preview, yeah, set. And then you can set the direction of, oh, this is on light and normal. Oh, there we go. That's probably why it wasn't showing. The direction of the shadow here. And there's something going on with my, I don't know if this is doing it. Yeah, I have to go back to this curve here. I think that's what was doing it. So I just changed the curve, but this is the before and after. You can kind of see it coming to life there. And then you can click OK if that looks good. And again, you can turn this effect off and on just to see what it looks like if it kind of added to your overall composite. All right. Oops, what am I doing? Now we can do an overall layer here to give it a tone. So let's do a new layer. Let's put it all the way up. Okay, and let's do, well, you have your gradient map, you have your photo filter. We talked about that before, where you can add an actual filter over everything. So here we are, kind of adding some intense warm color here to it, which kind of makes it look pretty good. Different types of warming. There's cooling. I think that looks pretty good. Let's see the before and after here. Oops. Where is it? Here we go. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that looks pretty good. So there's before and after. Okay, so it adds a little bit more of a yellow tone in there. You can always add just like an overlay if you don't want to be fully intense. Oops, not an overlay. Let's see here. Lighten it up all over. No, it's completely up to you. Then you can add a vignette if you want. You guys did that before with your other projects last week. Gradient map. I didn't have my, let me toss this out again. Make sure you have, let's see here. Excuse me. Adjustment layer, gradient map. Okay. So this is showing me black and white because I have this set in black and white. So you can kind of do a mask on this if you want as well. Let me go back to this so I can take it back. There we go. Because right now it's showing me my gradient map for that. Or what you can do is do a new layer. Let me delete this one. Fill it with black. So go edit, fill. Contents would be black. Let's go up here. Really? I think it's because it's a smart object. It's not let me. There we go. So new layer, fill it with black. Sorry about that. And what you can do, there's several ways, several things that you can do with this. If you wanted to have kind of like a vignette type look, this is another way you can do it. Go ahead and take your eraser tool. Let's see here. So the eraser tool, get it real big, and make sure it's, you know, a softer brush. And you can go ahead and delete like the inside part. So you're kind of leaving this nice vignette around here. And then you can dial the opacity down if it's too dark by using the actual opacity on the layer panel. That's kind of before and after. It's a quick way to do it. You have to make sure it's symmetrical. And then there's other adjustment layers that you can do too. You can go up to layer, adjustment layer. You can play around with the levels. Now this is, the way that I did this here is a little different. Here it is in my property. So this is going to affect just the background. It's not actually going to affect the animal. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up and pull that layer way above everything else in the layer stack. And then if you want to, say, make this be affecting of the animal, actually you can pull it right down over the animal, and we can do a little alt clip so that we're affecting just the animal part instead of the whole background. Let me get all my stuff up here. All right. Oops. Let me just trash this and start over because I kind of do a new layer. Or actually, we don't even need to do a new layer. Just go here, go up to layer. So I'm clicking on animal and go up to layer, new adjustment layers, and I'm choosing levels. Okay, so now I can kind of adjust the contrast and different levels of the image itself all together, so it kind of works together as one. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. File save. So just kind of make it seem like it's all like supposed to be in the same picture here. Okay. I think I'm going to go back to this hat because it looks still kind of out of place. So I'm going to go and click on that hat layer. And I'm going to go up to layer, new adjustment layer. I'm going to choose, yeah, it looks ashy. I'm going to choose, not the color balance, but let me go to levels for this one. Maybe do a little darker. It still kind of has this like lighter tone around the edges that I want to take care of that, and I'll show you how to do that. Let's go a little darker with this. Okay, looks good. I'm going to select the hat layer again, and I'm going to go up to layer, layer style, and drop shadow. And actually it could be a drop shadow, or it could be an inner shadow, just to get that line around that hat to look a little like it belongs with the image itself. So either the drop shadow or the inner shadow, see how it's kind of lightening up now? Definitely might help with that, depending. And play around with the angle. Okay, so we're gonna go up. So let's see the before and after. You can see kind of taking away a little bit of that. Looks good. So hue saturation, let me click on this guy here. Again, I'm going to go up to layer, new adjustment layer. We'll go to hue and saturation. So hue and saturation basically it affects the color of the object you have selected. So when I select the hue and saturation adjustment layer, watch what happens when I change the hue. Now it's affecting like the image itself. It looks like all the whites are going to the hue that I have the slider on. And saturation is, you know, more vibrant, or less saturation would be like a black and white, like duller looking color. Lightness, darkness, same thing. So that's hue and saturation. So if you wanted to just make, let me cancel this out here. History. Like if you wanted to, let me copy this. Let me take all this off so you can see it from the beginning. Copy it. Okay. Let's go back up to, so I just selected the original without doing anything to it. Layer, a new adjustment layer. Go to hue, saturation. We can actually change just, oops. Before we do that, let's hit the Alt Option key so that we're just affecting that specific image. But you can change the color of the actual image. And you can also do different overall changes here based on the preset. There's old style. Okay, so it really depends on the image that you're working in. But you can do it that way. It's a little harder to see, but okay, you can delete that. Okay. Let me see if there's any other ones that I can tell you about. Go layer, new adjustment layer. You have your curves. That's basically like your levels, just a little bit more options in that. You know, you have this diagonal line and you are basing it off of your darkest darks and your lightest lights. So you can kind of affect certain parts in the image by pulling this in and out of the histogram. That's what they call that. And you're affecting the pixel information here, which is the color information here, so that, and you can add more points to this actually. So you can kind of really adjust different parts in the image here. Okay, let's see here. This is kind of a little bit more detailed. That's why I kind of like don't get into this too much, because you know, you can get really into a lot of these specific tools, but for what you guys need to do, you don't have to go into that too much specific. You know, it's a little bit more deeper into it. So I want to kind of keep it a little bit easier because you do have a lot of tools to choose from, and I don't want you guys to get confused. Exposure is just like when you're dealing with, you know, any type of photography work. Exposure is basically the time that is left on the film. So the exposure can be darker or lighter. Gamma correction is definitely based on the color across the screen. So that's kind of what that is. Let me delete that. New adjustment layer, we have vibrance. You can add more vibrance to your image by just, you know, pulling this up will make it more vibrant. Pulling it down will make it less vibrant. Less saturated would be almost like a monotone or a duotone type look, depending on what your image looks like. New adjustment layer, you have hue saturation. I showed that. Color balance, I showed that earlier. Black and white, we talked about that last week. Photo filter, we went over that also last week. You have your channel mixer. And basically that's going into each of your channels so you can play around with the different channels. So red, you can take out red. So you're taking the red out by going to the left, adding more red to the right. You know, so if you want to take out a certain color within the whole overall image, you would definitely play around with the output channel. So this is the red, green, blue output channel. You have different channels that you can play with to kind of come up with some different effects. Just make sure you're not washing anything out right now. It gets so contrasted, it kind of takes away from the image. So you don't want to go too crazy, but you want it to make it look like it goes together. You can invert your image, posterize. Inverting is basically what it is. Reverse out. Let's see here, new adjustment layer. Posterize, so basically that's changing the look and posterizing it, almost like creating these shapes instead of the specific details in the photograph. Like a poster. I don't want to say poster, but you know what I mean. And then I'm not going to get into a lot of these because it gets kind of more complicated, but selective color, you can replace certain colors in there, you know, but just kind of focus on the simple ones that we kind of went over today. You can do color overlay too, just kind of cool. So if you wanted to do something with color, you could do that and then put a mask on it. So let me throw this up here. Click OK. And then put a mask on it. Go ahead and take your, let's see here, paintbrush tool. Oops. And dial the opacity down. And then you can kind of start taking through the mask some of the stuff out here, although I probably would change the hardness of this. Just to show you kind of some things that you can try. Now it's going to take out all the red in there, so you know it's kind of what you're looking for in the overall look of it. You know, if it doesn't make sense and it looks like it's taking away from the image, I think, you know, you definitely can do away with that. There's the fill, 100%. All right. I'm just playing around with the blending modes, but definitely play around the blending modes. You know, see what you can come up with. It looks like it's unifying the image together. The other thing is like the magic wand tool, or I'm sorry, the wand tool here, not the magic wand tool, to make it look more realistic in the hands of this monkey, marsupial. Let's see, where is my, I think it's right here. Let's move this into the actual arms or the hand. And then take the eraser tool, or you could do a mask. Let's do a mask. Let's throw a mask on there so we're not actually taking away from it, the actual image. Make a small little, I'm taking the paintbrush tool and painting away this so it looks like his hand's going over, you know, his fingers going over this magic wand. But I threw a mask on it, so when I'm deleting it, I'm actually not deleting it from the original image, so it's not taking away, but it looks more realistic, like it's setting in his hand. A lemur, there you go. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Thank you, Angela. It's been a day. It's been a long day. All right, so when it looks pretty good, when you have everything pretty much set, you're going to save it as a PSD file. Let's go back to the original instructions. King Julian, there you go. That's funny. I haven't seen that movie in a while, and I have a 3-year-old, so I should know. I should be up to date with that stuff. It's so funny. All right, so just kind of a recap, this is the images that you have to choose from. So you're going to pick one of the 5 animals. You're going to pick one of the 4 hats, one of the 4 props, and one of the 3 backgrounds. So you have 2 cooler backgrounds and one warmer one that I tried. And just kind of make it look like it belongs with the image. I'm going to show you some examples here. The samples are student samples that are given in the project specs, so you can kind of see what other people have done. So here's one using that same lemur here. So the student example, almost like looks like it's on a runway. Notice the ears, how they're knocked out between the hat. So it's probably a layer mask that was used to knock that out. So it looks like the hat's not just pasted on top, and that's actually custom on his head. That's the first example. And then here's another one, which I thought was kind of cute. Little guy here with his suitcase and his cool hat. But notice the overall look of this, the tone has been changed to a cooler tone. Excuse me, because this was the warmer tone background. So this was actually changed to look like a more cooler tone background. So yeah, so they blended that. You wanted to use the bucket, okay. Yeah, so you would just scale that down and make it look like it's part of the image and that he's carrying it in its mouth. Kind of like when I showed you the magic wand in his hand. You wanted to use the bucket. Did you have a question about that then? How was that a question that you were asking? Okay. So what I was talking about before, you saw me do the layer mask, right? Okay. So let's just put the suitcase in this one, and then you can kind of maybe see from there too. So let me grab the suitcase here. That maybe helps. Okay, I'm just saving it onto my desktop here. You can't see what I'm doing. All right, I'm gonna go back to my Photoshop document. All right, I'm gonna go File, Open. So I'm gonna open the prop that was saved on my desktop into a new tab. I'm just gonna take the magic wand tool and I'm gonna up the tolerance here. I'm gonna shift select all around. That's not gonna work, okay. Let me deselect. See, it's kind of selecting too much of that. So I'm going to dial this down a little bit more. And I'm just shift selecting. Okay, looks like I got some parts of the luggage too. If this happens and you're trying to get this perfect in terms of the selection, but you can tell that it's not selecting it perfectly, with it selected, go to your edit in quick mask mode, which is under your color fills here. Choose that and then zoom in. See all this missing information here? We want to take the brush tool at this point. Let me get it bigger here. And we want to flip our fill to black because we want to select it. Okay, hold on, I know you're commenting here. We just want to paint over this, the points that were missed. That's what I was missing. Oh, okay. Yeah, so then, if your selections have gone bad, this is what you can do to make it better. You can flip these around to take out the red, which would not be selections. The selection being made, you're taking that out. Flip it back to make it come back in. And I'll show you, just hit this again and it'll show you your selection that you have. So if you need to fix it, you can go and fix it here. I'm just painting this. I'm using the space bar to navigate around while I'm zoomed in here. I'm just kind of painting it with this red, which would be a selection. That looks pretty good. Now I just have to knock this out. I'll do that in a second here. Oops. Okay. Oops. All right, so I flip it back. And then I just hit delete on my keyboard. Deselect. I'm going to take the magic wand tool to select this part and hit delete. So now I just have the suitcase, and I'll just drag, and then drop it. And it might be really big in here. Whoops. My suitcase go. I'm going to zoom out. Oh. Okay, it was attached, sorry. Edit scale. I'm going to hold the shift key down because it's really big right now compared to my canvas. And I'm just scaling this down. Edit, transform, scale. Make it really small. So if you need to rotate this, you can go up to edit, transform, rotate. Just slightly if it looks like it might be better in that angle where how he's holding it. And then apply it. Zoom in. And then I would throw, I would throw a layer mask on here. Oops. And then go ahead and just take away some of the handle so it looks like his hand's over top of it. And the layer mask will allow you to delete that if you want to go back, or kind of edit it if you need to without it actually taking away from the actual picture itself, like the actual image. Okay. You could do the same thing with the hat if you wanted a little slight tip of the hat. You go up to edit, transform, rotate, maybe just a little tip of the hat. And we can actually throw a layer mask on there too. Let's do a layer mask. Let's see where his ears are coming in. Do something like where his ears actually come over the top of the hat. Like over top. See what that looks like. I would say maybe I'm going to go back. I like this side, but I don't like this side. So this is how you would correct that. So I'm in my mask mode. Take my paint tool or paintbrush, and I'm going to flip the black and the white so that the white is in the foreground, and I'm going to paint right back over it. the spot I don't want the ear to come on. Isn't that cool? So that's what's nice about layer masks. So you can kind of do some really neat stuff with that. So you might want one ear out, one ear in. I don't know. Kind of have to play around with it. Okay. Any other questions? I think it'll be a really, really fun assignment. I think it's just something fun to play with. And then once you do this and you're really good at it, you'll be taking pictures from your family's photo album. You'll be doing all kinds of neat stuff with them. Family might not appreciate it, but it'd be funny for sure. I've done a few myself. All right, so that's pretty much it. And then at the end, what you're going to do is save it as a PSD file, and you're going to save it and submit it as a PSD file. So you don't have to export it as a PDF. You can just go ahead and upload that so that I can see your layers and your adjustment layers and all the fun stuff that you're doing in the layers palette or panel. I can see how you came up with what you have. So you don't want to do a flat file like a PDF. Yeah, no JPEGs, no PDF, only the layered PSD file. So if I open up your file and there's only like a layer or two, there's going to be an issue. And I might say, hey, you might want to read through the directions again, adjust it based on the specs, so that I can see your layers, within your document. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to take a 5-minute break real quick. We're not going to have too much to go over after this, so. Oh yeah, the discussion was locked. Was that today or yesterday? I noticed that a lot of people didn't take yesterday's. Okay. Let's do a 5-minute break. I'll unlock that while we're here because I completely forgot. I know I got a couple emails. Let me do that. And we're just going to go over a few little things after that and then, basically wrap it up for today. Okay, so give me 5 minutes and I'll be right back. Okay. Okay, can you hear me? Let's see if I get my chat log up here. Okay, great. Yeah, so I went back and looked at the discussion questions for today and yesterday, because I did notice yesterday that no one had attempted. That's how it looked like in the grade book. Nobody attempted to answer. But what happened was the end date for that quiz was January 8th for some reason. And that's something that was set whenever this class loaded. So I reset that, yesterday's daily checkpoint and today's daily checkpoint, to being due by tomorrow. So go ahead and take both of those so that you can get as many points as you can get. So I apologize. That's one of the things that I have to go in and actually check, and usually they're okay. So, you know, if there's a problem, typically you guys let me know and I go in and change it. So yeah, so go ahead and do yesterday's and today's. So I'm talking about Mondays and, or wait, was it Monday? Yeah, Monday and Tuesdays. Okay, sorry about that. And if that happens again, just let me know, because, you know, I have to go through each and every one of those, and sometimes it just isn't possible with everything going on with life and getting back to you guys. So appreciate you guys being patient and letting me know as well. All right. No other questions with the assignment 3, and I know, Angela, you came in a little late, so you can review what you missed. Like I said, I started 5 minutes before you came in here, so it wasn't too much. And we went over the discussion too before you came in here as well. So if you have any questions, let me know about that. The assessment, just very quickly here, I can't go over exactly what's on the quiz, but I will review a few things here, and this is going to be a quiz. So you guys have a project for assignment 3, and you have a quiz for your assessment 3. So these are the learning objectives that are covered. So you're going to identify 3 common mistakes when resizing images in Photoshop. Identify and match 10 basic tools to the description of their use in Photoshop. So you might want to kind of, you know, go over some of the tools, just kind of review it. Identify and match 5 Photoshop panels to their function. Identify appropriate panels that utilize professional techniques. Identify 3 types of shape tools, and identify the functions of 3 main Photoshop selection tools. All right, so basically pretty much a lot of the stuff that we went over the last 3 weeks. Just make sure you're watching all the supplemental videos that are provided, and, you know, kind of reviewing some of these basic, the basic fundamentals of, you know, basic tools and panels provided in Photoshop. So let's see here. It's a graded quiz, no time limit, and I believe it is, yes, multiple choice. Here, let me stop sharing here and I'll take a sneak peek. I'm not going to say what the questions are, obviously, but okay, let's see here. Yep, multiple choice. Number 2. Yep, multiple choice. Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any fill-ins, because there could be. Sometimes they sneak those in. Yeah, just study your panels, like your Photoshop panels, your Photoshop toolbars. There's a matching one question, so you'll like choose A, B, or C. Okay, yeah, so there's no fill-ins. This is multiple choice. Okay. These were examples. I taught this class a while ago, so we have different pictures in here. But this is an example of a student that did one of the cat and nachos on a bench, which is kind of funny. Oops. This one was also a student's example. A little cigarette there. Do some funky stuff. Pretty cute though. All right, so that's pretty much where we're at, and I don't have any demo to do for assessment because you guys are doing a quiz, so it kind of shortens up class here. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want me to review anything, let me know at this point. If not, we'll just kind of end a little early today. You let me know if you want to go over anything. You're good? Oh, awesome. All right, guys, just make sure if you weren't able to submit your week 1 or week 2 work, this excludes the discussions. Get that in without late penalty. I'm going to waive it for the first and second week just because we had a very large amount of you who didn't submit. So I'm kind of giving this to you as a gift. Submit your week 1 and week 2 work by, I believe I said Wednesday, so tomorrow before midnight, and I will waive the late fee so that, the late penalty, I should say, so that you can, obviously get back on track with things. I know life happens, and I'm trying to give you guys, the benefit of the doubt here. And I really want a lot of you guys to succeed in this class. I don't want you to get too discouraged. So go ahead and get those in, as soon as possible. All right. Thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon on the discussions. Go post those discussions. Have a great night.